If you just join us, a political commentator, an advocate for responsible democratic governance. How are you?
I'm very good.
Nice to have you in studio.
Thank you, and thank you for having me.
David has a rich background from science through to banking. I don't know what he's into now. Now you're into a bit more advocacy.
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Yes, political advocacy and mostly focused on democratic governance.
Okay.
Yeah, and it actually came out of the recent spate of coups in Africa.
Okay.
And you realize it is very clear democracy hasn't delivered in Africa.
Okay.
And elsewhere you see democracy working, people are improving, lives are better off. And in Africa, we embraced democracy right from colonial rule. And 50 years, 60 years, 70 years, we are still yet to see proper dividends of democracy. So I set out to say, look, we need to have this democratic governance. We need to do it more responsibly to get people's lives better. Yeah.
Great. Well, before we say anything else, if you listen to my interview with Dr. Tony, we kept referring to an open letter from the IGP. If you go to where the letter is published, Ghana Web, there's initially you won't see anybody who has been credited for what was written. You only see the face of the IGP.
Right.
So you might assume that it is the IGP that wrote it. So Dr. Tenuedu has checked himself and agrees with me that it was not from the IGP. It was written to the police service. And the IGP's face was used by Ghana Web. Okay. What Ghana Web should have done is to state that it's from their columnist. So it's a columnist of the Ghana Web who wrote the open IGP letter. So he's been referring to the IGP. The IGP is cross-checked and he agrees with me on that. I've also paid particular attention to the name, and I see that it's by one Edmond something who wrote it to the IGP. But David, first let's start with this demonstration, Occupy Bank of Ghana. You've worked at the bank before, but not at the Bank of Ghana. But is the whole concept? How does the whole concept feel to you? Because there are those who say it won't be helpful to the image of the bank, which is our bank. It will also be helpful to our economy because you create the impression of the fact that we are harboring competent people at the bank who cannot be, who are not performing, who are not delivering, that it will affect confidence in the economy. To those who say all this, do they have a point?
Thank you very much, and good morning once again. Good morning to Ghana. Good morning to the people of Kroboland. And I'm talking about Odumase Krobo and Somanya. Right. Senna, the subject at hand, it's a very serious one. We've seen this country in the hands of people that have milked every good thing in this country. And the ordinary Ghanaian is suffering, right? This country, as we speak, is very anemic. It is wobbly and is admitted at the ICU.
Anemic. Wobbly. Admitted at the ICU.
Admitted at the ICU.
Admitted at the ICU.
ICU, yeah. Intensive care unit.
So we need intensive care treatment.
That's right.
I see.
That's right. Now, I'll come to your question, but before that, I'd like to go back a step. I heard you ask the very last question you gave to Dr. Toniedu.
Yes.
And you were asking him about the youth who are choosing to stay home in times like this, and the part of the population that is sitting on the fence. What is his message for them? He answered in a very interesting way. He says we should look at our future. However, before I go on to my main question, I would like to address that briefly with two quotations. Okay, one from scripture and one from contemporary speakers.
Okay.
Right. So I'm taking a scripture from Numbers chapter 10, verse 9.
Okay.
And it's quite interesting because when I discovered it, I was like, wow, that's interesting. And it speaks to today's demonstration and what citizens should do when they see oppressors rise against them. It says, when you go to war in your land against the enemy who oppresses you, then you shall sound an alarm with the trumpets, and you will be remembered before the Lord your God, and you will be saved from your enemies. Now, if we live in a country and an oppressor like the current government, NPP, is oppressing the people of this country and we keep quiet, to be honest with you, it is actually a criminality. And it's a criminality because I want to quote from the current finance minister who made a statement, a very profound statement some time back. He says, in the face of corruption, apathy is criminality.
In the face of corruption.
In the face of corruption, apathy is criminality. So, to support Dr. Toniedu's statement, for all Ghanaians, for the youth, for people who have time today, for people whose schedules allow them, I'm asking them to join the minorities demonstration against the Bank of Ghana, because in the face of corruption, their apathy to stay home and be indifferent is actually a criminality. And this is according to Honorable Ken Oforiatta. Okay. This is my opening statement to the subject of whether we should be there or not. Now, coming to whether this demonstration is good for the financial sector or not, I would say confidently we've gone past that.
We've gone past
that.
Questions about whether it is good for the reputation.
Yes.
Okay.
We've gone past that. And I'll give you two reasons. Now, in terms of information that flows to the financial sector and how it affects the financial sector, the finance minister has actually breached it several times over. Right down from 2017, when he read his first budget, he started making statements that create a lot of panic in the financial sector by asking or suggesting the merger of NIB, ADB. Okay. These are two big banks in the system, and anytime you make such announcements, you are creating a certain sentiment which is negative, fear, and gets people to be worried about the financial system. Okay. And all the ramifications that happened for us to see the financial sector cleanup that we experienced had already created enough chaos in the system that this demonstration is not what is determining any lack of confidence in the financial sector. Okay. That is my response to that. Okay. And secondly, it is important. I would say that this demonstration is actually too late. This demonstration should have come up maybe 2-3 years ago, when the financial sector happened, with so many financial services closed down, job losses and all. And the kind of premise that the governor of the Bank of Ghana, the finance minister, and the economic management team chose to use as basis to clean the financial sector and the chaos we experience, I think the demonstration is way too much delayed.
You felt there should have been a demonstration at the time.
Yes.
Because what they were saying was that they were cleaning it up.
Yes.
They were making it better.
That's right. So the expression to clean is a good word. Okay. It means there is debt. Okay. So to clean, nobody can stand against cleaning. Okay. However, at the time, the estimated debt in the system was a little under 9 billion. Then the finance minister, Addison, and the decision makers at the time chose to use 25 billion and still counting to clean a debt system of 9 billion. Okay. That alone is humongous and is enough to call for a demonstration, which didn't happen, and I felt it was disappointing. Okay. So if the minority at this point decides to say, look, this is one too many of a lot of wrongs going on at the Bank of Ghana, and it is time for us to go, I think I give them thumbs up. Okay.
It's now best. But at the time, it will be difficult to convince anybody to go on a demonstration against that.
Yes, it will be difficult to convince anybody to go on a demonstration against that because many people don't have force. They don't see ahead. Okay. If you should see ahead from that point, you realize we are not heading in the right direction. Look, I can tell you for free that the current economic situations we are having actually is self-inflicted. Okay. You cannot tamper with the financial sector the way they did and think you are going to reap dividends that will make you be hailed. It cannot happen. So the moment they did that, we should be able to see and know that this is not the way to go. Do a demonstration, make our case and state our issues clear, and impress upon the authorities at the time to stop. But we didn't. And we felt, okay, let's wait. Let's see how it goes. wait and see most often than not brings out undesirable effects. Yeah.
I see. Well, we're still discussing the matter of the Occupy BOG, and at this point, we'll be putting a live feed. The live feed that is from the Occupy BOG demonstration that is being done by Patrick and Nancy, who are currently there and having conversations with some of the people who are involved. Give us an idea of what is happening at the Obra spot where people are gathering. If you're not out of your home, yes, please do. There's no need to continue to question whether or not you should go. In fact, you are wasting time. The earlier you go, the better. So even if no matter where you're going, you can pass by shortly. If you can spare a moment to just walk for a few minutes, it's even good to be part of the demonstration to indicate that you believe in what is going on. So now the move is to occupy the BOG, David.
Yeah.
But that is not allowed. But the reasons that have been given at this point, the Bank of Ghana, especially the 60 billion cedis loss that they've declared. First of all, what do you think about that whole development that the bank just loses 60 billion cedis and is telling us, oh, no need to panic?
I would respond to that with a question to Dr. Addison himself. Okay, so Act 918, okay, in that act we have the provision of fit and proper, and responsible corporate governance is all captured in there. Expected behavior of commercial banks leadership is also captured in there. Now, the question I'll ask Dr. Addison is, if a commercial bank, let's say the MD, the CEO of a commercial bank, run a banking institution in the country and run at these losses with the defense they gave us in their response to the minority, would they take it and would they advise such a CEO to remain at post? So I granted an interview recently and I was questioning what happened to the fit and proper rule. Okay, we saw Addison being defended by certain quarters that it's the economy, it is what the economy has become, and it was quite informative and interesting for him to come out, and when I say him, I'm talking about the Bank of Ghana, to come out in defense and use the exchange rate and inflation as reasons for the kind of expenditures we saw, and the losses they saw as also part of the same reasoning. And I think for us to see this kind of losses, it's clear indication of incompetence. And in certain jurisdictions, Addison and his team should do Ghanaians the favor of walking away. They failed on the exchange rate, they failed on inflation, they failed on anything that has to do with managing this economy properly, aided by the finance minister who has just an interest to spend, borrow, spend to bring us to this point. Now, why I'm worried is our future, the youth, our future is being stolen by this government, by this economic management team. The kind of difficulties we are experiencing right now, we are forecasting about 10, 15 years period for recovery. If you are 40 years, what it means is by the time the economy is speaking some velocity for you to start finding your balance all over again, you are 50, 55 years old. Your life is over. This is the damage we are talking about right now. And for this kind of losses, I think Addison should rightly go. Now, in the act, it says Addison can go on the basis of, is it misconduct?
Yeah.
Misconduct is vague. Okay, so we have to establish misconduct. And I think the evidence is also there for misconduct, yes.
The evidence is there for misconduct?
Yes. The evidence
How
is
has
there.
he misconducted himself?
By the cash advances to government, beyond 5% of previous year's total revenue.
Cash advances to
Yes.
government beyond the previous year's
Yes.
total.
80 billion. 2021, 35 billion. 2022, 40 billion. 2023, I don't know how many billions. And all these figures are beyond 5% of previous year's total revenue. And for me, that alone is an establishment of misconduct because Parliament is not aware. And if Parliament is not aware, what it means is that since Parliament is the representation of the people of Ghana, then we can extrapolate and say, therefore, the people of Ghana don't know. So if Addison advanced such amount of money to government on the blind spot of the people of Ghana, that is a misconduct. And that should be a basis for which we should ask for his removal.
But he's always insisted that because there are some who think that our Bank of Ghana should be allowed to do what it did in the midst of difficulties where government is unable to find money because of what we had found ourselves in. Because he also insists that he was doing it to keep the country going.
Right. So they did that. I think in 2020 they suspended is a budget or something. He got an approval for 1 year, and when it's elapsed, he has to go back for it. Okay, that's fine, but I find it problematic when people think Bank of Ghana should be allowed. There is a law. Akufo-Addo and his cohort of NPP leadership have always touted themselves to be the advocates for the rule of law in every country. In this country. Now, the rule of law should be paramount to everything we say.
Okay.
Such advocates should rather ask for the law to be amended to reflect the new thing. But as much as the law hasn't been reflected, then there is no way we should allow the Bank of Ghana to spend money at its will. No, where lies accountability? Where are checks and balances? So anybody can just decide to say, Senna, I think things are difficult right now, and so just allow me to print money for government. When this event happened last year, and the minority brought it up, they denied. By virtue of denying, you throw all of us off board. Nobody is watching, nobody is checking, nobody is doing checks and balances, risk management, where money is being siphoned to, where money is appearing under people's bedrooms. We don't know. So how much money has been printed and used by this government, nobody knows because it happened without approval. And I'm saying again and again, that alone and by itself is an establishment of misconduct. Yes.
The lack of approval.
Yes.
Not following your own laws.
That's right.
Misconduct.
Yes. And it's clear. And it's clear in the act. It is act. My research yesterday is Bank of Ghana Act 612, Section 30, subsection 7. It says where the total of loans, advances, purchases of treasury bills and securities made under subsection 1 is 5% of the previous fiscal year's total revenue. The governor shall notify the minister and parliament of the attainment of the limit under subsection 2 above, and the minister upon notification shall report to parliament on the remedial measures to be taken. So if minority is telling us they are not aware of these cash advances to parliament, to government, this particular provision of the act has been breached.
Okay.
And we are talking about 80 billion Ghana cedis. If we scale it to dollar, that is $8 billion. How much are we going for from IMF? Is it not 3 billion? Now, to come to the gravity of it, this government has been in very serious cash receipts that we haven't witnessed in our recent political history.
That's the money that has gone to
this government. COVID, they always complain of COVID being a reason to destabilize their management. But how much money did United Nations give to COVID to them in the name of COVID? COVID accounting is still hanging. We haven't seen it properly done. Okay, they established e-levy, even GRA target for that year. Have they been able to tell us, okay, this is what we targeted, this is what we got, this is the variance, we had this gap, and for this gap we needed this money? Nothing of such has been done has been given to Ghanaians. So you can see clearly this government is just interested in creating money anywhere it can be created and then just use it. Look, the gentleman has spent all the money we have in this country and he's gone outside asking for reparations to spend before he leaves.
He spent all the money we have.
Yes.
Looking for more
from outside to spend before we leave. This is a government that is asking that we mortgage our resources that we haven't even mined yet. So they have the money now to spend. Senna, we are in bad times. We are in difficult times. And I can tell you for free, the current crop of leadership, the people we call president, vice president, finance minister, governor of the Bank of Ghana, they have run this country down. Yes. And it's about time the people of this country get up and speak to the issues. The youth of this country should join the demonstration this morning at Obra Sport. We are talking about our future being stolen, and you are standing on the side and saying it doesn't matter. No, before you realize your life has been stolen. So I think it's time we get up. This demonstration is rightly called for.
We are showing some live videos from Obra Sports and some conversations that are currently ongoing between